At 1 p.m. HST, I know where I will be. Ukulele Underground Podcast for you and me. Aldrine and Aaron and Kahai. And maybe Magic Mike or a guest on the fly. Ukulele Underground Podcast. Now here's the guys. Hello everyone and welcome to the Ukulele Underground Podcast. My name is Aldrine Guerrero. Joining me are Mr. Aaron, the voice, Nakamura. Say what's up, Aaron.
What's up?
And Mr. Kahai, the legend, Fergan. Say what's up, Kahai.
What's up?
Hey, gentlemen, it's Monday. Spring is almost here, you know? Breathe in that fresh air, that fresh spring air, right, gentlemen? You guys feel that? You smell that? It smells like spring. It's sprung, right, Kahai?
That's some more just inside jokes for us.
So no, you know it's spring break this week. Yeah, I mean,
that's
I'm
exactly
like,
what you're talking
oh my
about.
god, like I can't wait to go into the office because I've only had my daughter home for just a weekend. It hasn't even been like an extra day yet, because spring break is this week for the kids and stuff. And I'm like, oh my god, I gotta get out of this house. Or I gotta get out of this house.
She has already switched on spring break.
Oh my god, like the tension is already building up between my daughter and her mom. You know what I mean? Like and yeah, it's tension is thick. Would you say the air in the house is pretty thick? Would you agree with that, Kahai? How thick the air is? Of spring,
yeah,
spring break.
Yes, very thick.
It's smell it. It's great. It's great. Spring is you know.
I hate spring because it makes my nose all stuffy from the pollen. So
Really?
I can't smell anything, can't breathe.
But welcome everyone. In this podcast, we talk ukulele. We answer any and all of your questions. We get them however we can via email, via phone call, via text. And I know we have a voicemail that you can leave so we can answer those questions. We do have a live chat that's going on right now because we record this podcast live, so you can ask us questions live if you were to watch this in person, I guess live not in person, but live over the interwebs. Use the live chat. Ask us anything, basically. Give us your questions. We got opinions for you. Not quite answers, but we try our best, So we don't want to see answers because people are like, oh, you said this. It's not definite. Things change, right, Kahai?
Yep.
Like the seasons. Like the seasons. It was winter, now it's spring. It is sprung, right, Kai?
Sure.
So give us your questions. I'll try to give you my best 2 cents. These guys will come up with their best 2-cent answers, and we'll come up with a 6-cent answer just for you. So without further ado, Kahai, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So last week, you mentioned that you got a harsh truth from Mark when he said that your playing was choppy.
Yeah.
And then we kind of talked about it, and we talked about how that style of playing, right, where you're playing kind of fast, and you're not really following a groove or phrasing or worried about that stuff.
Okay.
That's that's a part of being young though, and playing music when you're young, right?
Right.
So what I thought I'd ask you is, what do you think is traits of a mature player? What would a mature player sound like? Or what would a mature, when you play with somebody and you're like, dang, that person, it sounds like they've been around the block. It sounds like musically they're very mature.
Yeah, I guess regardless of age, right?
Regardless, it's the maturity.
Age.
Because I guess if you picked up the ukulele for the first time and you're 50, or 50 plus,
style.
A mature player, not necessarily age wise, but playing wise,
or you could be young and
and be very mature, Okay, how do I talk about this without offending anyone? Because I feel that once I start giving, I'm not saying names, but as soon as I start saying things, people might feel like it might hit close to home, Some people might be like, that kind of sounds like what I do, And the thing is, if it'll hit close to home, don't worry about it, because really it's just a matter of experience. The more experience that you get, the better you are at just being mature, the level of maturity with playing. So let's go over the obvious ones. So of course, a mature player and what should we call it? Because by saying mature just seems like we're talking about age, you know?
Yeah.
A experience versus inexperience.
Yeah, I guess.
A well-traveled,
Or tasteful.
a tasteful.
yeah,
like
I don't
what's
know.
the word that we should use here? Okay. So for an experienced player and what that player looks and sound like, let's talk about that, and then we'll or should we do the opposite? You want to do an inexperienced player, what that looks and sounds like, and then let's compare it to what an experienced player sounds like. What do you want to do?
Maybe start off with that because you kind of covered it on the last podcast, like what you were like at least when you were
So
less experienced.
As an inexperienced ukulele player, what it looks like, at least for me, I can only give you guys example of what I was. And yes, I touched a little bit on it like last week, but to me, when I run into like a lot of people that want to jam, like, because of course, like, ukulele kind of brings that camaraderie, and I love that. I go to a festival and there's these people that want to jam and stuff, but there's definitely those players that want to, that want to jam with like the experienced players to kind of like, because they want to prove a point, or like they want to belong in that in that kind of level.
Show off their chops.
So one thing that I have noticed is inexperienced players, especially around experienced players, will just throw everything at the song, like with the kitchen sink. You know what I mean? Like it's almost to like, and it's influenced by the experienced player. How this inexperienced player will kind of act during the song. Say I'm jamming. Let me put it this way. Say I'm jamming with someone, right? In this case, I'm the experienced player. Say like somebody wanted to come up and jam with me and stuff. I'm like, awesome, because to me, not even as an experienced or whatever kind of player, but to me, a jam is just a jam, like. And as an experienced player, I will play whatever the song calls for, or whatever the groove calls for, or whatever the mood calls for, or whatever the situation calls for. All that stuff matters. You know what I mean? And the scenario is very dependent, or the choice of notes, how I play, my demeanor, all that stuff heavily depends on what the situation is. Like if I'm on stage in front of like 1,000 people or whatever, I'm gonna play up. Like I'm gonna give it my best, try to be as flashy, try to be as like as impressive, or something that will that is appropriate for a big audience. But what I found, so back to the scenario, so I'm jamming with somebody inexperienced and stuff, and they know who I am. It almost feels like a lot of the young up and comers, like they've got that scrappiness to them, that they want to like, and I'm guilty of this too, and I'll provide an example later on. When jamming, like they want to do like hard stuff, like let's like pick a like a chord progression, and let's improvise to like that chord progression. But to me, it's just like, okay, well then that's something completely, not that I don't like doing that, but me as an experienced player, and if I'm just jamming with somebody, I would, and it's just personal preference, I would rather just jam a song so that I know it's just like, okay, well, here's us jamming this tune together, because that sounds like, like I want to show you what I can do, like, so let's pick some chords and let's improvise to that, and so that doesn't, I don't want to sound like that guy, but it just doesn't sound that fun to me, because it sounds like, I'm about to get into this mode where like, okay, I'm gonna have to try, or I'm gonna have to like, and if this inexperienced person knows who I am and is expecting like a certain level from me of what they see me do in like say 1,000-person audience, but if I'm jamming with just me and you, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, and you're not an inexperienced guy. I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just jamming with you, you know, that kind of thing. But there's a scrappiness to the younger players where like, yeah, let's do this, or let's play like Breezin' or whatever, and you know, or let's play Europa, or let's play this song that I know you play, and then go do that thing so that I can do all these like crazy things to it. Where I'm just like, kind of. I don't know. In that sense, I'm kind of an old man where I just kind of want to play a cruise song. Like, I don't know. Like the older that I get, the more I'm kind of just like, I don't. You want to play island style? You want to play like, I don't. You want to play like a reggae song that's like 4 chords over and over. You know, like that's kind of where I'm at. And the scrappiness is like, they'll almost like challenge you. You know, like where like, oh, let's play this, and then they aim to impress you. Like they have this chip on the shoulder. They're like, I want to show you how good I am, and I want to show you that I'm like at the same level as you. Whereas like the experienced players is like, dude, we just want to play music. You know what I mean? Like I'm not.
And they're like, if you get during the song, if you get to that point, they show up.
Yes,
they show.
Yeah. They're trying to, and like more often than not. Like they go in wanting that almost dual, like, you know, aspect to the song that they want to do, and it gets to a point where like because they're already like nervous to jam and stuff, it doesn't really show me who they are as a musician. Like when I jam with somebody, I want to create a bond, like, you know, as musicians, as a jamming partner or whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah. But if we're trying to constantly one-up each other or whatever in that sense, it doesn't sound like something fun, you know? It then becomes, like I said, it becomes then like,
but I gotta... do that sometimes with like with Calais and Abe. So what's the difference there then?
The difference there is that we're still having fun. Yes, we one up each other, but it's in a poking fun kind of way. We're like, whereas like I said, the inexperienced person is gonna throw everything but the kitchen sink into the song. But like with myself and Calais and Abe and whatever, we're like, we'll add one thing, you know, and like we'll see.
Ramp up.
Yeah, like a ramp up thing. We'll add one thing, and it just like, let's see how the other person reacts to it. You know?
It kind of sounds like too when you're playing with Calais or Abe or whoever. It's like more organic, where you guys are playing, and then it's like, oh, this song has this spot missing where I can add in something.
Yeah, it's organic rather than it being forced. So now, you know, I'll provide an example. Okay, when I met Jake Shimabukuro for the very first time, like I saw him at Borders, and I heard he was gonna be at Borders, you know, and I'm this young, scrappy, you know, like inexperienced ukulele player, and I see him there, and I go up to him, have my ukulele, or you know, and I was like, oh, hey, Jake, you know, I'm like a big fan, blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, I was like, oh, you know, I play your songs too, like that kind of, you know, I play the stuff that you play, you know? Yeah. And of course to him, he's like, oh, that's great, man. You know, like that's awesome. But like, what is, you know? And now looking back as an experienced player, like Jake was probably like, that's cute. That's, you know, that's awesome. That's great though. You know, I'm glad you're a fan and you play my songs and can play like body surfing or whatever. It's like, hey, so do you want to play body surfing, you know, together? And then he's like, yeah, we'll play body surfing, you know? So we played body surfing on the side because, you know, it's not, he didn't ask me to come up yet, like on stage or whatever. We're just playing it on the side. And then I was like, okay, so I'll play the first verse and then you play the second. I was like dictating the song already. You know what I mean? I'll play, okay, you play, and then during this part, we'll play together. Jake's like, yeah, okay. Instead of just jamming organically, it's like, okay, cool. So you do this, and then I'll do this part, and you do the fast, whatever part, you know? And while we were jamming, you can tell he was just like, kind of cruising, kind of holding back, because I know what Jake can do now, you know, like he was definitely taking it easy and just like holding back, just letting me do my thing. And as a scrappy young ukulele player, inexperienced young ukulele player, I was like, yeah, you know, like I'm kind of showing Jake what I could do, and I'm like that same level. But then Jake is just like, that's cute, you know, and think that, you know,
at that time Jake was young too.
But
he was experienced.
Yes. He was in his, you know, I want to say 20s, like late 20s, and while I was like, you know, in late teens and stuff, or maybe mid 20s. Yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. So that's kind of an example where, and then he's like, oh, so do you want to play it on stage? Do you want to play with me on stage? We'll jam that song. Like, super nice. That's like how an experienced person is like, oh, whatever. Like, this is cool. I'll give this kid a chance to like kind of shine on stage and whatever. Super cool of him, because I was just like, this scrappy kid didn't even know me like 5 minutes before that jam or whatever, and I just kind of come up and just like, hey, I'm a uke player too, and yeah, just ha cha 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 cha, just I'll play my ukulele for you and stuff. Like, look how good I am, Yeah, I wouldn't do that now, like as an experienced ukulele player. So like I go up and see Jake again. I want to be like, hey Jake, so let's see, I heard your version of Kavika. You want to play Kavika together and show you like what I do in that song, It's just like, hey Jake, how's the kids or whatever. And of course, yes, but say we jam together and we're just jamming and Jake says, so what song do you want to play? He's like, I don't know, like Waiting in Vain, like G, A minor. Like super simple.
Or it's kind of weird, but is there like, could you actually play and it's like, not to call out anybody, but could you actually like play something where it's like, if we heard it, it's kind of like a caricature of like a kid who's like trying too hard for, to as an example?
That's tough.
Like one thing that I think that we've talked about that like somebody who's like kind of inexperienced might do is doing that like E minor run just over everything, that E minor.
Oh,
Yeah.
Not to call anyone out. That's because like a bunch of ukulele players do it. Even experienced ones. We'll still pull that out. It's a go-to.
And that's kind of the thing too about like, saying like experience and non-experience. And I feel like if you're playing with an experienced person and you do that though, they're not gonna actually like look at you and be like, oh, what are you doing? It's more of like, oh, that's cute that is their go-to, right? Like you realize like, oh, okay, so that is where they're at. So it's fun because you can kind of almost see like, probably most experienced players would be like, oh, I was at that age too, and I did stuff like that.
And it is what I'm pretty sure like how Jake saw it, and that's why he's like, oh, like I want to encourage this. I want this kid is
so in the same vein, it's like we're not trying to discourage
because it's a good thing.
That.
I think it's a good thing, and I think like. I would rather somebody be scrappy and want to jam with me rather than like the people who like, oh, I don't know if I'm like good enough to like jam with whoever, because coming up and jamming with people is like the best way to learn, the best way to gain experience. So if you want to be an experienced player, go and ask the experienced players to jam. Like that's the only way that you'll get
it's almost you have to go through that in order
and we say cute because it is like it's because it reminds us of when we were like that young scrappy players that want to jam and show off like what we know, like thinking that we're like at the same level, but it's that. So that's like the first thing. It's the scrappiness, the scrappiness and the wanting to impress. Two is the a lot of inexperienced players will tend to play riffs off turn. Like say we are jamming, say we jam, maybe not body surfing or whatever, or we'll jam something simple. Say like, I don't know, but Waiting in Vain. I already said Waiting in Vain earlier. So say we're jamming Waiting in Vain. Of course, Waiting in Vain, singing song, right? Like if they're not a singer, I'll sing the song. If they are a singer, I'll let them sing it, and maybe I'll add harmonies or whatever. But if I'm doing like little riffs on the side, I'm waiting till the phrase is over, okay? And if the phrase is over and they'll play, they'll play a riff on that, and I happen to like kind of try at the same time, I'll pull back. And I'll let that person like kind of do the riffs. I'll just strum and do harmony. If anything, I'll add like little voicings to the chords and stuff, like to make it kind of to make it more interesting. That's like what an experienced person will do. Whereas like an inexperienced person will riff out of turn or just play out of turn. We're like if someone's singing, it's kind of like the attention is not on them. And they have to just like, just play something. I need something there. Like, I want you to notice me, And like, and same thing, I'm guilty of all these things that I'm about to list out right now. Because, you know, like when you talk to somebody, but and like the conversation, you have to kind of like say something, and then as this person to say something else, but then you have like a retort to it, but this person's not done talking yet. You know what I mean? That, and you're just like, oh, I'm so anxious. Like, I want to say the things that I want to say already, you know? And same thing, that's the same thing in music, where like, you know, the singer, of course, with the words will get priority of, you know, of turns. Like that person will always have the spotlights. Okay. And then like if you're gonna add riffs to it, or if there's a solo, then the solo is gonna take the next spotlight, and then the riff, and then last but not least the background strumming and stuff. You know, so that's kind of the hierarchy of it. You know, so if it's not your turn, don't riff. Like, don't play over somebody singing, or if somebody is riffing, don't riff over that person. You know, or if and it might seem super innocent, you know, but if you're just kind of doing like a little finger picking like to the chords, it's fine, but don't start like turning your finger picking into some kind of a mini melody, solo, melody mini solo thing. Like, not, you know, it's considered a little bit rude, you know, to do that, to play over, you know, somebody, or if someone's taking a solo, and you just can't wait for your turn, and you just add little things to the solo. That's also a sign of like inexperience. Also, you know, it's playing out of turn. That's definitely a big one. So first is like the scrappiness of like wanting to impress the experienced person. Second one is the playing out of turn, knowing when to play, knowing when, you know, knowing when not to play, and the last one is definitely knowing what the song is calling for, or going where the song wants to go. Because something like Waiting in Vain can be just nice and mellow, where it's just little things in the middle, you know, like little riffs in the middle while the singing, maybe a solo or two, and then done. Or it can be, you know, if we turn it into like a solo showdown or whatever, you know, like, then it can go towards that direction. But if it doesn't go that direction, it's fine. And if it does go in that direction, then, you know, don't play everything already on the first turn. Like, it needs to kind of build, you know, like, and like. Yeah, it's that, because you know there's gonna be other rounds, because if it is a jam session, it doesn't matter how long the song is, right? It's not like we're on stage and performing and stuff. It's just jamming. And I would say that I think an inexperienced player will also like not have the experienced groove. And that's like a big one, you know? Like, I have played with people that, like, you know, we say that like 2 and 4 sparks joy, and 1 and 3 doesn't spark joy. There's like definitely a lot of the not spark joy ones, you know? And
or just like they're playing a rhythm that just doesn't fit the groove.
Yes.
And like I like that you said related this to a conversation. Because I think that what like, if you think of it as a conversation, somebody who's experienced will realize that that's what it is a conversation, and that the value in a conversation is listening to the other people. Like, and not only speaking. But somebody who's inexperienced will think like, what I say is the most important thing, so I gotta make sure that what I say gets out there, right? So it's like with a groove, they're trying to like dictate like, this is what it should be. Instead of listening to everybody else and being like, oh, okay, that's what's going on. That's the feel of it. That's what I try and do.
So for example, if, you know, like we hang out, we go to like, you know, we get some coffee or whatever, and we're just like, hey, you know, like, what are you doing this weekend, Kai? And like, that's where the conversation is going. And then like, you know, so that inexperienced person will be like, so strings, guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's talk about what kind of strings do you use? It's like, I use these, I guess, but
you gotta reading the room
and knowing what the groove is, knowing what you know, the direction of the jam is going. Like, that's one thing that experienced people will definitely know, like, to kind of just hang back to see where they fit in the groove.
Yeah.
And then once you're comfortable, then you know like how much to add, or how, you know, how little or how a lot you should be adding to the jam itself.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Yeah.
I think because it's like, it is like a conversation. It's like, if you're trying to build a relationship with somebody, you know that you have to like listen to what they're saying. You can't always just be like, this is what I gotta say, you gotta listen to me.
Yeah.
I think people who are inexperienced like don't realize that that's what jamming is, right? You're trying to like build rapport with the other people who are playing music.
Yeah, like an example, I haven't jammed with my son Sammy yet, you know, and we've yet to jam, but
like in person.
Yeah, in person. So like, his specialty is of course the harmonics, right? But if I go, hey Sammy, let's jam something, he's not gonna go straight into like, you know, just doing like harmonic thing, because like that, how do I jam with that? You know, we're probably gonna strum like some chords together, you know. So that's kind of what I mean. Where like he's playing music for a while, and I'm pretty sure like that's what he, you know, what he would do. We just kind of like just strum some stuff, kind of get to know each other, like rhythm, groove wise and stuff, you know.
Yeah, like playing the chords first, right? Setting the groove and everything. That's like your when you first see somebody and go like, hey, how was your weekend? Or like,
that's the how's your weekend question, you know, like just kind of just, okay, well, like what kind of like what song are we gonna do? Or if we pick a song, then we pick a song, or it's like, oh, just play something in G, I guess, you know, like, and whatever sparks will spark, right? And yeah, like he's not gonna throw like harmonics within the first like 4 bars, right? He's or at least I hope he wouldn't. You know?
Let's stop talking. I don't want to talk anymore. I don't want to talk about him anymore. He's in the chat.
Oh, is he in the chat?
And he said, main son taking notes. No.
But yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so it's not like...
Okay. So when you jam with somebody, you just want them to solo all the time, right? That's what you want. That's what you like, right? Just like talk over you, play over everything you do. Yeah.
So that's, you know, like that's kind of what I'm talking about, where like we would kind of see where the conversation goes, and an inexperienced player is just like, let me show Aldrine what I can do, you know. It's not that, it's just we just, I don't know, like for now that like I'm an old man and I'm like an old experienced ukulele player, I just honestly just want to jam like some fun stuff. Like I've taken for granted how fun jamming is, because back then when I was a scrappy inexperienced ukulele player, all I wanted to do was impress my heroes. You know, prove myself. Like I had this chip on my shoulder. I'm like, I'm just as good as everyone else in the room. But you know, like the greats don't do that, don't gotta, like they let like their performances speak for themselves. And even in like a casual jam, like people will see, you know, the sparks of geniuses in even like the most casual of jams. You know, like I've jammed with a lot of great players, like say Calais. You know, I'll jam with Calais. I jammed with Calais like a couple weeks back. You know, when we were jamming like at his house and stuff, and we're playing, I don't know, like One Day Soon. You know, and yes, as experienced as Calais is, like he'll wait. So I'm singing the song, he'll wait until I'm done with my riffs. But then like the stuff that he'll come up with, like in just like the 2 beats at the end at the right time, it's like, oh yeah, that's how you know. And you don't need it to be like a full on whatever, you know, like in your face solo. But the things that Calais did just at the end of the phrases of me singing, I'm like, I'm getting distracted. Like, you know, I'm
so good.
It's so good. Yes, it's so good. It's quality. It really is. The quality will speak, you know, for itself. And that's what I wish I've learned. But I wouldn't change a thing, honestly. You know, I would. As an inexperienced ukulele player, I think I did, you know, what inexperienced ukulele players should do in order to gain experience. You know, like I went up to the biggest dogs, you know, like, and I felt like Scrappy do, where I'm just barking, you know, whereas the big dogs are like, that's cute, you know, like
I think and I think it's like, it's even us saying this, it's gonna be hard for inexperienced people to like not just do that instinctively. Because I think it's a part of being nervous too when you're playing in
front of somebody that you admire and stuff. And like, I mean, even before ukulele, you know, like I played clarinet, played saxophone and stuff, and we were like we were treated to like a exclusive clinic, like for free for the students, by Gabe Baltazar. I don't know if you guys are aware of or know who Gabe Baltazar is. Amazing sax player. And yeah, and he had like a little workshop, kind of showed, like what you can do. And then at the end, it's just like, okay, cool, we'll just do a round robin. Everybody doing, like solos and stuff. And, and there I was, like trying to impress Gabe Baltazar, throwing everything but the kitchen sink in my solo, rather than like just grooving. Whereas like Gabe Baltazar was just going with the groove. Yeah.
So like looking back at yourself, it's obvious to you now that's what. Yeah,
that's like what inexperienced kids, like do. I don't know when faced with somebody with experience, So, but I wouldn't change a thing. Like I wouldn't. So all you scrappy young players, keep being scrappy. Just keep being scrappy, because that's how you learn. You can be like, I think, as being like new to the game or new to the instrument or new as a new player, that's the time to be scrappy. It's kind of like telling a kid not to be a kid, like kids, let kids be kids, like let them play, let them make all the mistakes and stuff. Cause that's what I did. Like I made not necessarily mistakes, but I did what kids are supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and I turned out how I turned out because like I had all the experiences, as a kid would.
Yeah, it would take like somebody who's incredibly like observant, and I think it's almost impossible to like realize like, oh, that's what they're doing just from like listening to other people jam, and that's what I should do. And I think it's much easier to just make the faux pas of like doing those mistakes and then being like, ooh, that didn't come out how I wanted to. So next time
it's fine. Like, I mean, how many times have I like made a fool out of myself in front of like big audiences also? But like, it didn't really matter because the end result is that I learned something like during that. And I wish I had like all these like videos to cite, like, and we've done performances with Jake and with Calais and all these players where I would get into this like battle, like I almost initiate a battle every song, like I want to show these guys that I can, I can jam with the best of them. And every time I would lose, but the thing is, losses are not like a complete loss. Complete loss is if you didn't learn anything,
or didn't try.
Yeah, I guess so, but I lost the the so-called like music battle or whatever, the improvisation match, or the cutting of heads, but the next time we cut heads, it's like, oh yeah, I'm coming back with like, with some of the tricks that I learned from the last time I lost. You know what I mean? Like it's even Goku Kai has to be beaten to the brink of death, but every time that he gets back up, he gets stronger. That's just saying blood, buddy. That's just saying blood, man. That's the same thing. Where like I learned from the times that I was just dunked on by all these amazing artists, and that's how you learn. So all you scrappy young kids, go do that. The thing that I would say not to do is the playing out of turn. Maybe like try not doing that. Like, but the scrappiness, I would encourage, because you got it, and because for us, it's not like oh, how's this kid just trying to show off? It's more like, oh, that's cute, like that's this, like this cute. That's like that they're trying to, like trying their best and stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's like inevitable that inexperienced players are gonna play like that.
Yes.
But if you kind of want to get the most out of a jam, I think is like really take the time to, or try to be intentional with listening to everybody else.
Yes.
And not just being like, what am I playing?
Yeah, be in the moment, like live in that moment, like, and really revel in it, because I, no matter how many times I've jammed with like, with these who I now call friends, it's still one of those like, I should have just like cherished it, or I should have lived in it more, because these chances are, especially at my level back then, I should have like really just lived in it instead of like just trying to.
I think that's also another thing that like you mentioned, that when you play and you do stuff or you're jamming, and like the audience is gonna know when like something special happens.
Yeah.
But I think if you're experienced also, like Calais probably, and like when you and Calais play together, you're maybe it's like you're not really like thinking I'm gonna do this for the audience. You're doing it like I'm gonna do this for Calais. Like I'm gonna do this because I know that Calais is gonna like hear
appreciate
it.
it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's a cool thing.
And that's probably like his approach when we were jamming. Like the small little like riffs is like, oh, I bet Aldrine got a kick out of this, and then yes, I did.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah.
It was great.
It's exactly, or it's like you know, our podcast and stuff. And when you have a group of friends, you have like inside jokes that it's like other people who just come to the conversation, they might not like. Why is that like hilarious or why is that awesome?
Yeah.
But it creates that like deeper bonding sense with that person.
Yeah. Like if I played with Rio ever again, I would definitely do somewhere in whatever. It doesn't even matter if like those are in the chords that we're jamming to. I'm gonna somehow sneak that riff in there somewhere, you know, and I'm gonna like
just keep going up.
Even if it stops the song. Because we'll just start it back up again. It'll be fun. And it's worth it to get a laugh from Rio at that point. You know, it'll be awesome. Have you seen his stuff lately or just seen him?
Oh my goodness,
amazing. And he looks like such a grown up now.
But he is doing some amazing things.
He's fantastic. Like, if you guys don't know Rio, R-I-O, not R-Y-O is also awesome, but Rio is an R-I-O from Japan. That kid is so good. And that's one of those, like, he was a kid, but his maturity level was so his experience level was so high.
Yeah, like, that's a good example of when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
He was scrappy. He wanted to learn from everybody. But he also had that. He had the manners.
Yeah, never played out of turn. Never did none. Always very like respectful to you know, like to the people who were teaching him stuff.
Somebody else who I thought of when we said like they can be young but mature. Is like Carly, and like when hearing her play and hearing other people around her age, is like she has it figured out that it's like this is my job to play as in this part of this band or this group or whatever, and I'm gonna try and fulfill that.
Yeah, very, very good. I'm glad you mentioned Carly because there is a video I can cite with that, which is like myself, Carly, and Willie K. You know what I mean? Like it was a nice surprise because I don't listen to Carly's like instrumental playing all too much because primarily she's a singer, you know. So and. You know, she definitely had and we're talking about the hierarchy. She had the front of like here she's the vocalist, she's singing the song and whatever. She has full priority, and then you know she gave me and Willie K like a solo each, and then she did a solo. But you know she up until her solo. She did not like play out of turn. She didn't like try to like prove that she, you know, like or played on top of me or like Uncle Willie. She did really showcase what she can do and showed everyone that she was she belonged in that like in that stage, like playing with us. And it was amazing because the maturity level that she had, you know, it was very not surprising, but like it felt really good because I felt like we could have jammed for like an hour, 2 hours, and be her and Uncle Willie, and it would have been super fun.
I think you could tell, like you said, like other people can tell because like the people around the crowd when I was like there, you could hear them afterwards when they're like, "How old is she?" Like, what? Like, that disbelief that is like she's this old and she's like. It's not just like she's this old and she's this good. It's like she's this old and she's musical. Like, right? She has that musical sense.
She must have been 17, 16 at the time of that jam. It's just like, that's amazing, you know? And you know, she knew her role in the tune. She knew like when to give out solos, when she knew when to play her own, when she knew when to like add a little riff here. And it was great. Like that's that level of like you'll only learn like with experience. That's not something that you watch a tutorial for, you know, or even just like listening to this podcast. You're like, okay, cool, I know what to do now. It's like you still won't get it until like you play hundreds of times with people like that are better than you, you know, and you just sit back and listen, you know, as Derek Sebastian would say, stop, uke and listen.
Yeah.
Love that. Love
Yeah.
that. Stop uke and listen.
Uncle Brian is another one that we've mentioned on the podcast before.
Ooh, so good.
Brian Tolentino. I feel like
Fairy
he's
dusting all over.
One of the epitome of like the tactfulness of like being able to play with other people.
I think we called him like the musician's ukulele player.
Yeah.
Because like the stuff that he does, like other people, it's not gonna be like, oh my god, you play body surfing? That's amazing. But when like other musicians hear him, he's like, dang, that guy is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever he's playing with, he's just making them sound better.
Yeah, he's really good, and you wouldn't think that because like he adds little things in there, but like really genius things.
Yeah,
but you
and
wouldn't think of it.
Not like,
you wouldn't think of him as like a ripper shredder, but it's like, dude wrote G minor fleas. You know, he co-wrote G minor fleas. The guy is an animal. Like don't let that fool you. Don't let these little fairy dust things fool you. Brian Tolentino is an animal. You know.
And I guess that's the thing with like mature players, right?
Yeah.
They know they have the chops, they have the technique, they have everything, but they're just like, but I don't need to do everything.
Yeah, you don't gotta. You don't gotta. You know, you don't gotta. And I think that's like the beauty and the difference between like a mature level player versus like a fairly inexperienced. Whereas like the experienced player, like will have some chops, and the chops are great, and they gotta try them out. You know what I mean? Like they have like bedroom chops that they can't wait to try out in real, in real time, which is great. Like try it, do it, be scrappy. Like I'm encouraging people, be scrappy, do that. Like but. Just know that us old dudes just kind of want to cruise. So when you come up, don't all of a sudden go to Bandito Tyler already. Maybe we'll play like Buttercup a little if you're into like my catalog. Maybe do that first, and then like get into something like Bandito Tyler or Senor Victor or any of like the harder tunes. Like maybe go easy on the old man.
This is also like a call though to experienced players, right? Where it's like if an inexperienced player just jumps right up to you. Is like that's where it's like you can kind of show them a bit of grace and be like, yeah, I was like that too. Sure, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to do, kid.
But usually the go-to is if like what I would suggest, if you have a chance to go and jam with somebody, ask them what they want to jam. You know what I mean? If somebody were to come up and like, hey, Aldrine, let's jam together, and then I would usually be like, oh, what do you so what do you want to play? Let's jam. What do you want to play? Instead of just like this song or whatever, you're like, I don't know, like what do you feel like playing? And then I'm like, oh,
I guess that's
nice.
That would be a hallmark of a more experienced
experienced player. Like, oh, what do you feel like playing?
Yeah.
And then if
I'm ready for anything.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like the undertone of that.
Yeah. Whatever you want to do, Aldrine. It's like, oh, whatever you feel like playing. I'm like, okay, cool. We just, and then more likely, I'm just like, I don't know. We'll just play something in G. We'll just play these chords, maybe. And then that's instead of just like, if I'm like, oh, what do you want to play? It's like, okay, well, how about we play these chords? And there's there's an undertone in there of like I want to show you stuff. I gotta prove something to you. But if it's just like, like I don't know, I just want to jam. Like I like that vibe better. Where it's just like that's more of a vibe of like I honestly do just want to jam. Like I'm not trying to like prove. And then you can show me your chops. Like during the jam. But that makes me feel a lot better and makes me want to engage in the jam session with somebody because if you at least offer that like, oh, whatever you want to jam, then if I do have something in mind that I kind of want to do with you, or I'll come up with if I don't, I'll just be like, just like what's your favorite song to jam, and then you say Bandito, I'm like, all right, let's go for it, but at least it comes off as kind of friendly, because.
If somebody came up to you and said like they want to jam Bandito Tyler, right? I think the thing is too, like you said, waiting in vain. I think when you want to jam with somebody, you want to. 2-chord songs are great because they have space.
Yes,
they have space to do other stuff,
and it's cruise.
if it's like Bandito Tyler, right, or even like I think like Europa, it's like. It's kind of dictated where it's supposed to go.
Yeah,
where it's gonna end up.
And for me, like. It actually shows me a lot if you can do some cool stuff with a 2-chord song rather than like some simple things. If you're if you maybe go, oh, That's pretty cool. You know, like that's a big compliment.
Yeah, like I wouldn't have thought to do that.
Like, oh. Or, you know, like maybe I won't like audibly say it, but I'm just like,
yeah.
It's pretty cool. Like if I give you that nod, it's like, yeah, that's how you impress like an experienced player, you know? Using another example. I met Kyle Ferruccio, our very own Shadow Strum, for the very first time. He was actually a friend of my sister's, and and my sister goes like, "Oh, there's a guy at my school that plays your songs." I'm like, and I want to introduce you. I'm like, "Oh, right on, okay, I'll go meet this friend of yours or whatever." So I go, and it was after school at Kauai High, and he was like in one of the practice rooms at the band room. So we go to the band room and the practice room, and it's like my old stopping grounds because I was a band student. And I meet Kyle for the first time, and I was like, "Oh, so like Catherine tells me that you jam too. You want to jam something?" So I was the one who initiated. I was like, "You want to jam something for me?" And then he didn't even because I had an ukulele too. It wasn't even like he goes like, "Oh, so what do you want to jam or whatever?" Immediately goes into Bonito Tyler. So immediately goes into that, and Kyle, I think he's talked about it too, where he's like, "I didn't know what to do." Like I felt like I was on the spot, and I felt like I had to like perform and play and stuff. I'm like, nah, that's not what I was looking for. I was just kind of like just meeting like another person to jam with,
and I feel like that's also inexperienced because like when you're an inexperienced musician, maybe you haven't played with other people and you don't realize that it's like you get nervous because it's like, this is my first time playing with them. What do I do, right? And you don't realize that it's like everybody kind of doesn't like they're probably not gonna harp on me, so I don't have to take it super serious if this is just a jam setting. Right? So.
Yeah, a great one is actually recently, like last year. I got to meet Larry Mitchell, and Larry Mitchell is like a Grammy award-winning guitar player. And he's played with greats like, I don't know, Prince, like Tracy Chapman. He's played with like great, amazing artists. I didn't know. But as an experienced player, I just saw him sitting on the couch and just jam banging stuff because all the other, especially the YouTubers, ukulele players was kind of like doing their own thing. So I'm like, I don't know, like, Larry, you want to play a song? Like, you want to jam a song? He's like, I don't know, like, what do you jam? I'm like, I don't know, let's and I remember playing Baby Can I Hold You Tonight, and he's like, hey, funny enough, I played with Tracy Chapman. I was like, what? Blew my mind. And Baby Can I Hold You Tonight is 3 chords, like C, F, and G7. It's just like,
or 4 chords.
Yeah, or 4 chords, yeah. And there's an A minor there somewhere. And then and once I saw his chops, I was like, hey, Larry, you want to... And after he told me his pedigree, I was like, Larry, you want to like jam like Breezin' and stuff? Like, so we jammed Breezin', and like very cool, like, and it's that ramp up that we're talking about. We're like kind of wrapping up, like kind of feeling each other out.
Yeah.
And I got that compliment. Where like I think I played a riff and I saw Larry like kind of smile like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, on the ukulele, it's pretty cool. And I got that, and I was like, yes, I impressed Larry Mitchell. So even as an experienced player, I can act a little inexperienced sometimes when I'm starstruck, because like, I don't know, like I'm just trying to be nice, like, and seemed like he was just by himself, so I wanted to go jam with him and stuff. But then like he tells me his pedigree, and I'm just like, oh, I would love to jam like more with you. Like what's something that we could jam together, And although there was a ramping up, and I wasn't just like throwing everything in the kitchen sink at him or whatever, fully trying to impress him, it was still really cool to just like play with somebody of that pedigree, and knowing that I'm still a little scrappy sometimes inside,
I guess it's just like hard to beat down that like sense of like, I gotta impress this person. I like what this person does. I gotta show them what I can do. I hope they like me too.
Yeah, no, I mean, but it wasn't like, I'm past the try hard phase, like, because I felt that he just wanted to cruise, because him just, what it was really, I was jamming with the YouTubers, and I could see Larry sitting on the couch, just like doing little riffs and stuff. I saw it on the side of my eye, and I'm like, hey, Larry, you want to jam a song, or something? He's like, yeah, what do you want to jam? I'm like, I don't know, let's keep it simple. This maybe CF G7. I've been jamming this song for a little bit because I was listening to some Tracy Chapman on the plane, and that's kind of how I thought of it. And he was like, oh, that's pretty cool that you know that song. And then he's like, yeah, I used to tour with Tracy Chapman back in the 90s. I'm like, you what?
Yeah.
What did you do? It's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Let's spend the last 10 minutes. Any questions? I know I talked on and on.
Probably should.
Yeah, let's
Answer
have some questions.
Pretty quick question.
Yeah.
Sparrow said, "Do you ever use Sonobus for jamming? It's like a streaming software to like play music for somebody else across or whatever."
Oh, that's pretty cool. No, I haven't used that, but I mean, I am all for taking advantage of any kind of new like tech or any new like apps and stuff that would encourage jamming or practicing, like any kind of practice or jamming at all. Like, go for it. You know,
It's pretty hard though to do jam over the internet just because of the delay.
Yeah.
Like when you're playing for somebody and you're trying to hear what they're responding with, it's like I know Jacob Collier did this over Zoom, but I think he's like another beast where he's just like, I'm just playing, I'm hearing a little bit, but I gotta make sure that I'm on time no matter what that person does.
So, you know, like just I think it's fun. I've never used it myself. Kai, as you heard, Kai had to explain to me what that is, but I'm down. You know what I mean? Like any kind of technology, because I used technology to my advantage, which was a PlayStation 1 when I was starting out, you know? And that allowed me to visualize like where the track is. Like that was a big deal for me. Where like cuz you know, like knowing when the solo was coming up, knowing like when certain parts of the song, because if you just played it on a CD player, you wouldn't know, right? So knowing that, so that I can like fast forward exactly to that point that I want to start to practice. That was me with my old tech, you know, and using that to my advantage. So whatever new tech that you can use to your advantage, apps like loop pedals or even just YouTube videos of like play alongs, like anything like that. I'm down for it.
I think. Yeah, the thing is, like, don't think, though, that spending as much money as you can is going to immediately make it better. Yeah. Okay. Jim said, so about, like, playing over somebody else when they're taking a turn. He said soloing is clear, like, you shouldn't do that. But what about adding some harmony notes as is done with backing vocals?
If it's a riff in the song and it requires harmony, go ahead and go do it. But if somebody is doing like a improv, I would say let that person improv and try not to like play on top of that person, because you just don't know if that person was going somewhere with that. You know what I mean? Like, because if once you step in with the harmony, then it's almost like they have to lock in with you instead of like letting them do their own thing. So soloing, if it's, you know, like if it's a part and it has harmony, if, you know, if it's like a written part in the song already, it's like, for example, we're playing that Horse with No Name. What's that other one with the America song with the harmonized Ventura Highway. You know, if it's Ventura Highway, it's a riff. Go ahead. If somebody's playing that one riff and you know how to do the harmony, or if you're playing Body Surfing and somebody's doing the lead and stuff, and you want to do harmony to that, by all means, go ahead and go do that. But if somebody's like improvising, don't. just don't, because it might sound good, but you are then like restricting that person from like expressing their like artistic freedom.
I feel like you have to have like a pretty good rapport with the person already before you even attempt to do like throw a harmony over somebody. Yeah. Because if you start playing the harmony and it throws them off, then it can kind of like just throw off the whole groove of the song.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a little risky to just like, if it's your first time playing with somebody and you're not like fully comfortable with it, or like, you know for sure like they're gonna keep playing their melody so I can play the harmony to it, I would just be like, no, I'll just play background or whatever, not worry about it.
But there are times like on tour, me and Calais have improvised, and during my improvisation, I'll like narrow it down to maybe like 3 melody line notes that I'm pretty sure Calais can catch on, and then almost like inviting him to harmonize me. There is that, you know, if like if the soloist is playing that line and is obviously looking at you to do it, they just feel it out, you know, then do the harmony and you can do that. But for the most part, don't. Yeah. Okay. Next.
Okay. Blason said thoughts on Steven Universe. The show got me on the ukulele.
Love ukulele. Love Steven Universe. Love the ukulele. Love what's her name?
Rebecca Sugar.
Rebecca Sugar. Amazing songwriter, and she has such an old soul. Like when it comes to writing ukulele music, like it's as if like she studied, and I'm sure she has, like the old school turnarounds of like 20s, 30s kind of music, because you can see it in her chord progressions and her note choices. Amazing. I mean, I couldn't think of any better place to start than listening to some Steven Universe songs to fall in love with the ukulele, because she really knows how to make, the ukulele sing.
Yeah. Oh, like talking about like somebody who's like playing maturely.
Yeah.
Like I feel like with her songs, she's trying to like make sure that every single note on her uke and her voice is like maximized to the best effect.
Really good stuff. We've done a bunch of Steven Universe songs on this website, so check that out if you're interested. Yeah. Next.
Raymond said, the average humidity on Kauai, how do you deal with it having no AC? Can't get mine in the case below 70% with humidity packs here, Big Island.
Kauai, how do you deal with it having no AC?
85%.
You acclimate, I guess. You know what I mean? Like if you're coming from the mainland and you're coming to Kauai and you're just like, oh man, is it hot in here? It's just kind of like me coming to like Utah and like, oh man, it's hot in here. You acclimate, right? With anything.
And I'm guessing they're talking about in case. They're talking about like how do you deal with your instruments being in such a humid area?
So we talked about it, like before. Like if you're visiting for like a week, I wouldn't really worry about it. If you're visiting for longer than that, then like have like either like if you need more humidity, then you add humidity by adding like a humidifier in there, like one of those, I don't know, like Oasis, like humidifiers and stuff. If you need to take out humidity, silica gel is how you can take out humidity from your case.
Yep. Yeah. The last time Mike was on, he also talked about like just using, I mean, this is like DIY and not the greatest, but like, what is it? Apples and orange peels and citrus.
To add humidity. Okay, next.
This one is a little bit more general, so I don't know if Sparrow said any jazz advice would be good.
Sparrow, I gotta watch you play to justify these jazzy questions, because I love questions like this, but then like
what about
jazz?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it seems like a blanket statement, like me coming to or going to like a Buzz Aldrin, like talk and be like, can you tell us about space? And it's so general, you know what I mean? Like, so, jazz advice, listen to as much jazz as possible. Like, cause jazz is all about feel. Jazz is all about the creation of a piece of music, in real time. So every single jazz album is like a snapshot of that music being created. So listen to as much jazz as you can and just like immerse yourself in it and pretend you're experiencing that creation. And that's that's the best advice that I could give anybody. Yes, learn your jazz chops and chords and whatever, but for the most part, you need to it's like the weirdest thing that I'm gonna say is, but you just need to let jazz in. You need to inhale the jazz.
I think what we talked about though, like jamming, that is like one of the biggest things in the jazz setting is like their whole ideas of jam sessions. And when they're playing with other musicians, the idea is that they're trying to have conversations with each other. So try maybe like if you're listening to jazz albums, like of course like there's always gonna be the front man of the band. But listen to like everything else that's going on too. You're here.
So that's it. I mean, that's my best advice is to really just like take it in, like immerse in that, and I give the same advice to people like, oh, what kind of advice would you give me if I want to play Hawaiian music? Like listen to as much Hawaiian music as possible, like immerse in it, because Hawaiian music is not just a style of music, it's like a whole culture. Same thing as jazz. It's not just like a style of music, but it's a whole culture. So in order to understand jazz and not just pretend to play jazz, you kind of have to immerse a little bit in that culture.
Or and don't just go to like Spotify and go to like jazz playlists, or you can start with that.
Jazz essentials.
But I'm sure they're gonna put out like Autumn Leaves and everything else, and then it's like start with that, and then look at, especially with jazz, it has such a rich history that you can go like, oh, actually this person learned Autumn Leaves from this person that learned it from this person.
Yeah. Okay. Next, maybe last one.
Yeah, I think where was it? Mike Aru said, "What is the best uke for metal?"
Uke's not meant for metal. All right, guys, thank you so much for that. I don't know, whatever it is you like. Is that good enough? Whatever it is you like.
I feel like, but Mike should be telling us this, right?
He probably has more experience. But yeah, there are a bunch of solid body ukuleles with metal strings, and you can run all kinds of stuff like pedals. And
if you want like authentic kind of metal, because you can't be like, I want to play metal, but I still want to keep the the ukulele. Like, no, it just
it doesn't come
work.
through.
Yeah.
So. Actually, Fender, one of the years, Fender released a Telecaster that was a tenor guitar.
Oh yeah? Oh, cool.
So it's like it's not like technically an ukulele. Yeah, it's just like a
mini caster.
Yeah, and it's technically not a baritone ukulele, but it's tuned like a
I saw like a Telecaster ukulele, like that kind of with like the plug-in and stuff, but it's not like solid body. What I would do is just. I mean, if I don't recommend people do this, but like, if I had money to just fool around with a Telecaster uke, I would stuff that uke and just change out like the pickup. Oh man, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, but it was it was a solid body Telecaster tenor guitar that they put out. I think they only released it for 1 year. And then never again. So if you can get your hands on one,
Google Magic, find a guy.
Might work. Yeah, it might work pretty well for some purposes.
That's also the thing though, is that if you have a uke and you're trying to play metal with the uke, do you just try to emulate like the guitar, or do you have to think of it as like, this is a uke, how does the uke tackle metal, right?
Yeah.
Well, you have to figure out what constitutes like a music being called as metal. Like what makes metal? And then, like, is it the kind of notes? Is it the kind of sound? Is it the kind of like way of singing? Is it the composition of the music as a whole? Like, figure out what that is to you, because metal is so general, and there's like all these subgenres of metal that like any advice that I give right here is probably gonna, like, there's gonna be some metal fan that's like, no, that's not metal. You know what I mean? Find out what kind of metal you don't play. Find out what makes that kind of metal, and then reverse engineer for your ukulele. Okay, if there's like a certain sound, a certain distortion, like a certain speed, a certain whatever, do that for that's what you do in your ukulele. Fair? Because even like reggae, like reggae's got like the dance hall and and roots and all that stuff. So it's all different, and so if you just say metal or jazz, even thoughts on jazz, it's that, like, just like really figure out what kind of music you want to do, and like how to translate it to your ukulele is going to be dependent on the kind of music you want and what makes that music, or what defines it, that genre of music. Then follow that. Yep. Because you don't want to be called out, especially by metal people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm playing metal ukulele. It's like, that's not metal at all. That's like, whatever, screamo. You're just screaming with like distortion. And it's like, what's the difference between screamo and metal?
Technically metal.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to like.
Actually,
I got into this conversation recently with my wife. That's why she was like, "Oh, is this band metal, or are they screamo?" I'm like, "That's screamo. Like, metal doesn't talk about feelings. It talks about like adventures with the devil and and stuff like that. Like, that's when that's what metal things is. Like, talk about like the Balrog, or whatever. some demonic thing. Like that's, but I guess it doesn't have to be that, but it's just not feelings. Don't talk about how sad you are. Metal is not talking about how sad you are. So like,
so is it just the
yes,
topic?
It's screamo. I don't know. Yeah. So me and my wife, because she's a metalhead, you know, like likes metal bands, and her favorite being like Avenged Sevenfold, and like Avenged Sevenfold. Yeah, that's metal, but kind of tiptoeing on screamo.
Well, actually, that I would call it like a post-metalcore.
Yeah. So we had this like discussion, and we're like, "Is this metal?"
Oh,
I'm like, yeah, I'd say so. You know.
as a musician, I feel like genres matter less and less because you just realize that it's just like everybody's playing music. That's it. So
just play. Play.
Yeah.
Just play, okay?
Play and make what you want to make.
Play metal on your Mahalo ukulele. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
It's your music.
That's
Go
the best.
make your own kind of music, right, Kahai? I'll see you folks on Friday for a little Friday Live Jam. Anything else, Kahai?
Nope.
We have a brand new UU Plus solos for you folks. It's I Want to Write a Song that came out Friday. So make sure you check that out. That's an original song from yours truly off of my first album, Sweet 409. So it's a nice little throwback song. If you guys want to listen to the original, it is on Spotify, and it features my friend Aiko Yamashiro, who wrote the poem for Sweet 409 called I Want to Write a Song. It perfectly encapsulates what it was like living in 409 and just what kind of, like, how special that place really was.
Yeah, somebody asked too, like, she wrote and she's the one performing the
poem. She's performing that. So Aiko wrote that and she performed it. And if you're interested in more of Aiko's stuff, I believe Aiko wrote like a book that you can get like on Amazon. She's an amazing writer, and like because of that question that we got from somebody, I actually Googled Aiko, and man, she has a list of accolades. Like Aiko has, my gosh, I'm so glad I got her when I did because it's probably super expensive now, you know. But she has like the list of accolades that Aiko Yamashiro has, and just what she's done for like the poetry community in Hawaii, not just on Oahu, but like just in general, and like really like pushing forward the Hawaiian culture and the Hawaiian poetry, and it's just amazing. Check it out, like Aiko Yamashiro, just accolades upon accolades upon accolades.
It's like now it's like, hey, Aiko, can you write a poem for me to
maybe $20,000.
I'll get you McDonald's.
Yeah. How about a acai bowl at Diamond Head Cove, Aiko? Would you do it for that? That's what you did it for last time.
Okay. 2 acai bowls.
You just did it for a mono bowl at Diamond Head Cove and 10 free CDs.
Yeah, my royalties is this much. Is like 2 acai.
But yeah, shout out to Aiko. She's doing amazing things. Like I follow her on Instagram. You know, like Maka Aiko. MAKAAIKO. Maka Aiko on Instagram. Amazing, inspiring, just all around one of the best human beings that I've ever met. Really, really, really cool person. Just a forward thinker, cool person. Yeah. I'll see you folks next time. Have a great one. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you Friday for a little Friday Live Jam. Bye.